Yeah, hey everybody, this is Ian, and today we're going to take a really quick look at how to write a kick-ass business manifesto. I'm going to share with you something that I posted on our Facebook page, which is Mindful Marketplace, or actually the Mindful Market on Facebook. You can actually follow the link here on my blog to see it. And this has really been one of the most helpful things that I've done in my own businesses or my own, projects with partners. There's a whole bunch of ways to do this, I think, that are very clarifying, very helpful, very motivating, both for yourself, your partners, and for your community. And just a really great way of using empowering questions to get very clear, very focused, and very inspired about what it is that you truly want to do. So I'm going to share with you a couple of the questions that I ask. You can download a copy of this, which is here. You can download this. I'll also have a link that you can grab a whole bunch of other stuff as well if you like, all for free. And again, obviously, you're not going to be using my manifesto, but you can certainly use this as a template for making your own. I would also say, in my case, uh, the manifesto that I wrote, and this is something that I had written a bunch of years ago, that really was for today in mind. So, in other words, I was picturing this business that I'm trying to build now 5 or 6 years ago, and that was the audience that I had written this for all that time ago, which is really kind of manifesting now in my life, which is sort of cool as well. So I'm going to give you some of the questions that I ask. And I'm also just going to give you, again, a copy of our manifesto. This is not just mine. I did write this, but it's for a community with a bunch of other talented folks as well. So some of the questions that you may want to ask: what do you love? What do you loathe? And I find that people don't ask that, but I think that's a really important question to ask as well. So what really turns you off in addition to what turns you on? Like, what do you hate about your industry? What do you hate about the world? What do you hate about your life, even, that you kind of want to change in this really powerful and profound way starting now? What do you believe? What kind of world do you want to live in? What do you desperately want to see in the world that you're willing to step up, stand out, and create for yourself? I find personally that taking a leadership position, taking a, leading and going first is a critical and crucial step in this whole process, even if it's just stepping up and standing out in your own mind, leading in your own mental space. Doesn't mean you have to go plant a flag out in the world if you're feeling shy or cautious about doing that. It just means getting into the mindset where you're willing to be courageous and brave and represent something in a really powerful way. Um, so just to kind of continue with this blog post, I don't want to read this, but I'll just kind of let you know what I was thinking when I wrote it. A cry, a creed, a call to arms for a community that can come together and do something great. That, I think, is what uh, is at bottom what a manifesto ought to be about. Now, again, without getting into all the various nuances, you can make a personal manifesto, which can have nothing to do with a community. It just might be for yourself. You can say to yourself, I hate my life, or I'm unhappy with my circumstances. Therefore, starting today, these are the things that I'm going to change. And then you create that for yourself. I'll tell you really quickly, I was listening to a great podcast a bunch of months ago with a meditation teacher. Her name is Spring Washam. And I was listening, and it was on the 10% Happier podcast. And I just was struck by how she, at this really rock bottom moment of her life, went on this mindfulness meditation retreat. And she sort of had such an epiphany, such an aha moment in this in this community, in this experience of being on this retreat, that she tore herself away, but for a moment, just to kind of take this vow for herself, how her life was going to change from that day forward. And in her case, she took a very Buddhist style vow, but that is a manifesto. And I found it fascinating, 15 years later, as she's recounting this moment on this podcast, how completely life changing that moment for her, where she gave herself the courage and the strength to state out loud what her life was going to look like going forward. I think we can all do that. And that's a really inspiring and empowering thing. So here are some of the questions. Again, like always, I try to inject some humor into this or just disregard all this. But, what do I love? Who do I serve? What do I believe in? What does the world I want to live in look like? What do I see that needs to change? What fight am I willing to pick? And again, I think this is really important. Be willing to be brave. I mean, have courage. Be willing to step up, stand out, and say, I will fight for this, and I will fight for what I think is right. What will I resist? What will I commit to in this moment without hesitation or further delay? Again, so here's, I wrote a little bit more about picking a fight below and some of these other, paragraphs or sentences or whatever. And I just think this is a wonderful way of getting hyper clear, getting really excited, inspired, and motivated to do something great, either by yourself or with other people. Here's my manifesto. This is for the Mindful Marketplace project. We have a whole bunch of sort of sister communities that are running in tangent to this. You can visit us on Facebook as well, facebook.com, The Mindful Market. You'll see this manifesto posted, and you can download mine, which is fairly long. It's 3 pages. Just a bunch of simple statements of purpose. This is what we believe. And if you find this helpful, that would make me very happy. All right. Thanks so much for listening and watching. And if you have any questions or comments, feel free to ask them below. Thanks.